sake of the children. Every generation means it too. And yet, in every generation, we practice some form of child sacrifice.
A CBS News investigation has uncovered a loophole that allows accused and convicted American pedophiles to escape justice by moving to Israel.
Speak again of this operation, and you will be breaking the Official Secrets Act.
What will happen to the Jews and what will happen to Yerushalayim and what will happen to the world at that time, where there will be many, many people killed and so on and so forth. So the idea of having these refugees come into Europe, it's no longer a matter of whether it's right or wrong. It's just simply fulfillment of what it was meant to be all along. This is the fulfillment of the Hazal and the prophecies. This has to happen, and this is just another sign that we are nearing, the completion of this tikkun of the entire world.
We are going to train 100,000 Christian ambassadors to be ambassadors in their own country for the state of Israel, to defend Israel's brand and to combat anti-Semitism.
As a nation, they'll cease to exist, even as individuals. Every individual, no survivors. Not only as a nation, they'll cease to exist, even as individuals. As goyim, they're gone. Their personality, as they exist bifnei atzmam, as they would exist independently of Klal Yisrael, they don't exist. They're done. In modern terminology, they call it cultural genocide.
You will need to reset everything you thought you knew about the world, about the people you trust, about history, about yourself. Let me tell you a story. For a very long time, our world has been under the growing influence of a vast transgenerational criminal mafia that was able to rise up to the highest levels of power. We didn't know because they talked and acted just like you and me. We thought we could recognize true criminals by their words and actions, but were deceived by their sophisticated speech, wealth, education, beauty, and power. Through a system of threats, blackmail, and bribery, they would come to occupy the highest levels of power in government, corporations, and education. You may know them as the deep state or cabal.
There is actually a plan, there is a plot, and that's a plot against Christianity. Let me bring you one of the books here, The Secret Doctrine in Israel by Waiti. And what it explains is the basically secret doctrine of the Zohar, what is behind Zohar, and you have to understand that the soul of the Talmud is Zohar.
Thing I want to announce is in our Friends of Zion Museum, we are going to build the Donald Trump exhibition. No president in American history has done more for the state of Israel than Donald Trump.
Understanding what the plot is against Christianity, it says here, according to the Midrash Talpigoth, the Messiah will bring eternal peace, which of course was understood by the Israelites as peace for Israel, plus that which may follow extermination for all who did not enter by conversion into the house of Jacob. So basically what they teach is that if Gentiles or Christians do not attach themselves to the Jews, they will be exterminated. And of course, we are well known for our Noahide laws, that we brought this to a light. So then you go to Talmud and you start reading what is the plan for Gentiles. You see, Judaism is a two-tier system. Judaism puts the wall of partition back. It's the Jews and non-Jews. And according to Judaism, non-Jews are different species. Now, they are building their own kingdom. It's the Jewish earthly kingdom with headquarters in Jerusalem, where their AI Messiah will be, and they're going to rule the world through the law. It will be international, one law. one religion, basically Luciferian religion. So yes, in a Talmud, this is the Jewish earthly kingdom, and this is why the Zionist Christianity have embraced Kiliism, which is a focus on earthly millennial kingdom. And this is how Jews and Christians are getting together, and Christians are so deceived thinking that they're working for the good thing, for the Jews, like they're helping the Jews. The Jews are supposed to get this kingdom. Yet this is Zoharic doctrine, and it does not have good intention. As I said, that they want to rule the world, they want to get Gentile riches, and they want to rule the Gentiles. They don't consider Gentiles fully human beings. And in fact, as an end game, they have this strange doctrine, Adam Kadmon doctrine, which Adam Kadmon originally was, according to Zohar and Talmud, he was androgynous. He was male-female in one body, and this is why you see this transgender agenda today, and there are laws, very serious laws, passing in Alberta, Canada.
Is Zionism behind the transgender movement?
Yes, it gets its origin in Zionism, and it gets its origin in the Talmud, Zohar, and Kabbalah. It's a Kabbalistic doctrine of Adam Kadmon, which is eventually they have this doctrine called Tikkun Olam, repairing the world. Yes. So how do they want to repair the world? They want to bring it to the original. Who was original Adam? He was androgynous. So now they're putting specific things in food and drink, and they're basically their end game is to make humans that on Earth that will survive whatever it is they're bringing androgynous.
I just know the truth. And I'm here to separate the good Jews from the satanic Jews. Yes, yes, yes!
I bet you haven't been compensated in any way.
No compensation.
Fuck all.
Because they've replaced English common law, Magna Carta 1215, with Jewish Talmud law.
Yeah.
And the Christians have got no rights to property or justice. And this is what we're up against here in the UK.
It's because we're animals. We're classed the same as animals.
We're classed the same as cattle, and they're milking us. They're milking us dry. And this is what's going on. So we don't have any police force here.
No rule of law.
No rule of law. It's been hijacked.
Yeah, totally.
It's been hijacked. The English law, Magna Carta 1215, has been hijacked, and it's been replaced by the Jewish Talmud, which Christians have got no rights to property or justice. So this is where we're at. Here in good old Britain, who's supposed to be the mother of justice.
Yeah.
The mother of justice. And this is happening every day.
A list of alleged parliamentary...
You know the names on that piece of paper. Will you be speaking to those people?
No, I think, Philip, this is really important, right? Because there is a danger, if we're not careful, that this can turn into a sort of witch hunt, particularly against people who are gay. And I'm worried about the sort of thing you're doing right now, giving me a list of names that you've taken off the internet.
But this was not about homosexuality, but about child abuse, and Cameron conflating the two was not only an outdated stereotype, but also somewhat deceptive and misleading. It enabled the notion of a gay witch hunt in Parliament, and one that other people, who would later be accused, evidence was quashed and suppressed to protect the reputation of the politicians and the political parties they represented. Knowledge of political abuse of children has been filed away in files held in the National Archives in Kew, southwest London, where over 1,000 years of government records are stored. Will we ever know the full truth? Unlikely. Not only are paedophiles naturally cunning and leave a little trace of their behaviour, but only 5% of government records are permanently preserved anyway. Some are available to the public, but many others are closed for sometimes 100+ years, either on the basis of national security or personal data. This alone creates a sense in people that the truth will never be told in our lifetimes.
When you realise that all these places are self-governing, they can do what they like. They attract homosexuals, they attract lesbians, they attract paedophiles because they can get away with it. Because the covens are so secret, even the satanic temples are secret. They can shift around. If they think they've been rumbled, they just go to another building. So it is a big problem.
But are we talking about just a few people in isolated parts of the country?
No, we're not. We're talking, it is nationwide.
What is the greatest trick that the devil played on man? That he didn't exist. He's not real. And the Jewish supremacy, they make sure they hide it in plain sight.
We'll go with the Jewish sources. There's a ton of sources out there, but I'll stick with the Jewish ones because that's just safer.
And maybe it's child sacrifice worked too well, right? If you sacrifice your kids, Yahweh has to respond, has to sort of accept that. And that's not okay.
That the ritual sacrifice of children may have been fairly common throughout this part of the world, including ancient Israel. The burial site in Carthage belongs to a specific type that archaeologists designate with a Hebrew word, Tophet, a location described in the Bible where people would sacrifice their children as burnt offerings to various gods.
There are like 40 nations that are attending the Zionist meeting in Israel tomorrow.
Right.
Matter of fact, Vice President Pence and Nancy Pelosi are there together
To
in
describe
Jerusalem.
this story as horrifying would be an understatement. And if that sounds like a warning, then that's exactly what it's meant to be. It deals with the sexual abuse of children by satanic cults. And not only that, human sacrifices as well. We started investigating these secret satanic cults when a British Member of Parliament linked them with the ritual murder of children. In this day and age, it sounded too far-fetched.
Too many children were left to rot because this was a council riven with racism, corruption and power struggles.
Mr. Bray, we'd like to talk to you about the business you conduct and about the kinds of activities you promote. We'd like to talk to you about articles promoting murder, witchcraft, advertisements calling for dead bodies. There are many people who get into this disgusting business who wouldn't do so without you, Mr. Bray. What a pathetic display.
Bray makes light of the dangers of Satanism.
That the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion is now like a bestseller in Japan, even though they basically have no Jews there. But it just goes to show that people are, quote, waking up, and so that's good news. Before
well,
we go
I
too
have
far off the deep end.
my second largest audience is out of Beijing, China. I get 17,000 visits per week out of Beijing. So my website is visited 17,000 times out of Beijing, China, and so the Chinese are actually waking up to it. But the Chinese upper echelons of the government are run by the Jews, and all of the factories that were built in China were financed with Jewish money.